For this video, I am finishing up my cycle of Jin-Sook videos. What I mean by that is I crafted a premium Jin-Sook, and I said, hey, we're going to play him in a number of decks. We're going to do essentially every color combination you can with purple, and the only one that is left is green. And I thought this was a good opportunity to also showcase a Reanimator deck. I've not played any Reanimator on my YouTube channel specifically, though I have played it on stream a few times, and I thought this was a great time to maybe showcase how that can be done. So traditionally when I play Reanimator, I either play green-purple or I play green-blue. They both have their own pros and cons, but essentially you've got kolobok because you want the ramp, Born Again just because it's great value, and then a couple of like boneyard tricks. So Wake the Bones is a great way where if you start with kolobok and it dies, you can use like Wake the Bones to get rid of this so that you can then put a fatty in the discard pile. Same thing with Raid the Tombs. It's also just good card draw, but it's specifically kind of like boneyard manipulation. Also Troikasekt fills that role as well because you can banish up to 3 cards, so you can kind of choose what you take out of your own discard pile if you need to. And then if you need it as defense, the give a minion -3/-0 is actually a pretty big deal because it's a permanent -3/-0. Cards like Led Astray just for more defense. And then when you get up here towards the top, it's like a lot of fatties, and that's part of the deck, right? Like you want big targets to bring back from the discard pile. Ghost in the System, I just like, again, for a nice early drop. Same with Sword Saint. Sword Saint's amazing in this because it helps you stabilize. If you can use the Biting Blade on something massive, you can get big chunks of health. Hotel Barkeep is important in a Reanimator list because you need to be using Disc of Circadia often, and this gives you a way to get a 2/4 body and a free power use for the same almost investment that you would for a power. It's 1 more mana essentially, and you get a 2/4 body. That feels like a really good value. I run 1 Feng Shui Master just to deal with pesky enchantments, and then again, just kind of like a suite of larger bodies that you want to put on the board. I run 1 Terragon, 1 Lantern because I like having a little bit of flexibility in the items they provide. Same with 1 Bogeyman because the discard's nice, and then the Pacific Rim combo of the Daigoju Supreme and the A Student. And that's basically the list. So we're going to do what I always do with these. We're going to jump on the ladder. We're going to play 2 games, win or lose. We always hope for more wins than losses. Now, I will say this. I don't play a lot of Reanimator unless people request it on stream, just because I don't think that it's particularly very good. I know that it can sometimes frustrate new players because it has a really good opener at times. If you have the cards in hand, it can certainly blow out some games, but oh, I gotta deal with Corey. Speaking of getting blown out. Alright, so Corey here, friend of the channel, he's going to embarrass me. I can already see it coming. What do we want to do here? I think we're actually going to get rid of the troik and end our turn. So we're going to say hello back. Oh, Corey. So anyway, while I can have a really powerful start, if you don't get that start, and we're seeing that I don't have the necromantic right now, that can be a bit of an issue at times. And the other reason that I'm not a big Reanimator fan is it's actually really easy to counter with a lot of cards that should just naturally be in a player's deck to begin with. So things like Ghoul are really good. I think we'll get rid of this and save the beast. The beast is the better of the value options. Well, I don't want to give them either of these, but I certainly don't think I want to give them Sapo. Even though Sapo makes me hapo. Giving your opponent access to not 1 but 2 early Serpent's Dens is never a feels good experience. Alright, so they are on yellow-blue, and we saw the stairway, so enchantments are definitely a part of their game plan as well. And we, unfortunately, on our end, have still not found access to a necromantic. So we're gonna go ahead and see if we can find one. There we go. There we go. Hope that they don't have anything that messes with our boneyard, and then potentially set up the necromantic play this next turn. Altar? Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I think we're gonna not burn anything quite yet. The Raid the Tombs is pretty important here because we're gonna want to get rid of this kolobok at some point, but also we just kind of need the card draw. So we have to hope that they do not have like a second green card and then led astray. Going against Corey here on this tricolor abomination that has 3 Serpent's Dens to go with their altar. Alright, let's go ahead and do that. We're, I think, gonna go with this terragon here as well. The other option, theoretically, is Raid the Tombs. And then if we draw something that is relatively burnable. But the problem is this is the bottom 2, and we still need this to die. So we can't really Raid the Tombs yet. So I think instead we're going to go ahead and play the Dargon. I mean, it's really a dragon, but we like to call it a Dargon. Try to set ourselves up in a position where we can start pressuring. Dealing with an endless supply of not just snakes, but chump blockers is not a good time. And they're going to go with a falls as well. Alright. So this was a moderately annoying play, simply because it means we have to attack the maze. Which means we still do not get this play, this opportunity. The Feng Shui Master is a pretty nice pickup for us as well. The question is, do we want to get rid of that Maelstrom or the Serpent's Den? Because the less Serpent's Dens that we have to deal with, the better. This is going to go ahead and attack either way, so we might as well do that. And I really like the idea of, I think, just getting rid of the Maelstrom. Let's just get rid of the Maelstrom while we're here. Now we could develop this Born Again as well, but I want to start cycling through this because we want to get to a point where we can potentially discard again as well. We'll grab the Lantern Colossus over the Shroud this time. Both are really solid options there. Like, Shroud long-term generates an awful lot of value, but the Immolation Cloak from this can certainly help us clear a path. We have to be a bit careful, though. While we want to develop the Lantern Colossus, what we don't want to do is have all of our big threats on the board for them to just turn around and fall to a single Misanthropia. Corey does have a lot of cards in hand. And the snakes are expendable, so given the opportunity, if they could hit a Colossus and a Dargon and also, say, like an Indrik beast, I think they absolutely would do that. Bragi. All right. That actually fills us, I think, with a little more confidence. Because if they have to Misanthropia and hit their own Bragi, I think that's a little bit of a win. Alright. Just gonna keep throwing those mazes in my way. And sadly, still do not have a great way to get rid of it. So let's make the trades that we know that we're gonna make. I think this goes back for a burn for sure. Let's go ahead and do this. So one of the other nice things, let's put the Iku there. One of the nice things about Reanimator that are green-based lists, and all of them should be because of the necromantic, is that when you get to a point where Born Again is in your hand, if you don't want to discard other cards of value, you can always discard Born Again and then turn around and get it right back. And I think we're just going to turn off Bragi's ability to attack. Obviously, his ability to filter and do things like that is still very good for Corey and annoying for us, but we also would like to keep pressuring. Alright. That's never a good sign. Yeah, there's the Misanthropia. So because we basically negated Bragi, he says, okay, I'm fine if I lose my Bragi. Let's get this done. But the good news is we still get a lot of damage in, potentially. Our big bodies aren't going to die outright. They can still get swings. And then we have Colossus that we can play. We're about to draw Iku that we can play. We can also finally raid the tombs and feel pretty good about it. There is a lot going on. So let's go ahead and do that. Do I want to get rid of the Bragi or prevent them from drawing additional cards? I think we get rid of the Bragi because we can still Lantern Colossus to deal with that. And I think that's the appropriate call. So let's go ahead, let's get rid of the Bragi. And then just make sure that we're cutting off the additional card draw. So a lot of snakes coming back, but that's okay. As long as they don't have another big answer for, say, Iku, that'll be a fair amount of pressure. Oof. Alright. So now we are no longer guaranteed to be killing the snacks. I'd love to raid the tombs and get more cards, but then that means I cannot play Iku at that point. And I think playing Iku is important, so let's go ahead and develop. Develop the big boy. It does mean that we're going to end up losing our Lantern Colossus, but we're hoping that we'll make up for that with solid pressure. We will likely after this have to raid the tombs, though. We want to get to the point where we can play this, and ideally we'd like to be able to play it and then activate it at least once in the same turn. So we need to start burning some more cards, I think, to get there. Ow! Those snakes. Bitey bite. Earth slide, okay. That is a very respectable board. We do also now have our own Wake the Bones. So we could theoretically Wake the Bones, play Lantern Colossus, and then another Immolation Cloak, which would soak a fair amount of damage. I'm not sure if it would soak enough. Alright, get that damage in. I think that this is still the play that we have to go with, sadly. I think that we're going to do this. Also means that we have to burn a card, so sadly I think we're going to burn this. We do the most soaking here. And if we're just trying to soak damage, that's the appropriate play. Ooh, Magnus. Well done, Corey. Very well done. And sadly, with a top deck like Shroud, that is going to be, I think, the end of us. I'm not sure that there's anything we could get with Raid the Tombs that's going to save us. We were so close. Got Corey down to 4, but Magnus cleaned us up. Could have also just been like a Poxbringer or something. It's not like it was just Magnus. Thunderclap would have just as easily done the job. Nothing really of value that we could snag with Shroud of the Pit. So I think right now we take the raid. That doesn't hurt. Not enough gems. Oof. It's a mega oof on the turn timer. Corey showing off with that second singing stone, getting the job done. Good game, Corey. So, not the best, but as I said before, this isn't a deck that I traditionally play because it's sometimes clunky, specifically if you don't get the early combo, as you saw there. I mean, Corey essentially had 3 Serpent's Dens on the board before we got our first card reanimated. Now this time around we have a much better opening hand for the combo. But it also looks like we might be against aggro, so we're gonna need it. We have to throw back one of these beasts. We actually might even need to throw back the Born Again at some point. So we might as well get that value now. This is very much a card that we're going to want if this is truly against aggro. So we'll go ahead and drop the beast. So against red, you're only really worried about something like Pit Fiend, alright? As good as Jin-Sook is, I don't think that that's actually the card we keep here. So we can play Born Again for defense, and I guess that's okay. Let's go ahead and get that done. The concern is that we also might need to burn it. So if we don't draw a green card, this ends up looking like a really poor play, because the faster we can play the necromantic, the better off we'll be. So there's an argument to be made there about instead of playing that, instead you just take the divination too and eat the health. It only delays us by 1 turn because this will come back to our hand. So it's really, if we don't tap deck a green, then we can always throw this back the following turn. But we were happily rewarded for our gamble. And then the Sword Saint will let us start getting some massive chunks of health off of the Indrik Beast, hopefully. There are answers now that we see the running blue, so the Valkyrie Enforcer, for example, is a pretty bad time. See, the biggest issue with the deck that we are currently piloting is that let's go ahead and play Sword Saint and Born Again. The biggest issue is that we don't have a good way to give things rush. So I mentioned before, I traditionally play either green-purple or green-blue. The reason that I prefer the blue version, and I'll probably do a video on it at some point, is twofold. One, you get an extra shot at reanimating with the Junkyard, but also you can run Frecky Sidecar. So being able to make that trade that we had just made, but then also slap down a Sidecar and get damage immediately, that's a pretty big deal. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and get our 10 health now. Develop this. Trying to decide if I want to throw this terragon back or not. I think we do. I think that's fine. Because being able to potentially traitorous murmur something this following turn, I mean, it has the potential to be game winning. That's a big worm. That's a big worm. Alright, so a bit of a bummer because we're going to have to shuffle this back in, but this is kind of what I was talking about. So we don't get our 10 damage in right now, but being able to deny them the worm here seems like a pretty big deal. And if our next card isn't that great, also developing a Supreme will likely just win this game for us at that point. Yeah, so that allows them to trade with the beast. But against an aggressive deck, being up at, you know, over 30 health after that exchange is a pretty big deal. So we go ahead and we will burn that, and like I said, develop the Supreme, the Nacho Supreme. Now this does not have Overrun, which is why I placed it here. Traditionally against decks that you know are running Magmatar, you don't like to line up like 3, but you want to be able to have this trade in with something. Like right now, in order to double block this, if you will, they would have had to put them both here. Because now I can use this ability to hit this, and then this can trade here, and then we have the lethal. So we will do just that. We'll use the ability. Actually, we can just use the ability again as well, but... Alright, so you can see the differences between the two games, right? The one game, we did not get the reanimation combo off fast, and then essentially we were behind, right? This is a combo deck. It's a risk-reward deck, and against Corey, we were unable to get a fatty on the board nearly fast enough. I mean, we tried, I think, pretty well at the end to force some pressure, but just couldn't get the job done. And then the second game, when you do get the combo, the deck looks really impressive, right? It's a very like feast or famine style. I'm personally not a fan of it because, like I said, there's a lot of folks who can punish it, but it's satisfying when it works. So anyway, like I always do, I will put the deck list in the video description so you can import and play with the deck if you want. If you don't know how to use the import-export tool, I do have a how-to video on the channel. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Consider subscribing, and hopefully I'll catch you watching future videos.